Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey always reigns supreme. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, let's drop the puck and get this party started.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night in New York. Welcome to the program, everyone. It is Saturday, October 8th, 2022. Coming at you live from Floored Media in Rockville Centre. Big special edition of the show for you tonight. We have Mr. Andrew Gross from Newsday and Stefen Rosner of NYI Hockey Now joining us in-house in the studio. Did I say tonight?
It's today.
It's, you know, it's part of the brain script.
I want to, yeah, right?
and back, everybody, is Mr. Christian Arnold,
Well,
back
they
from
wouldn't
hiatus.
know that because I think the camera is just so squarely on you right now.
Which makes sense to me. So, folks,
Ego,
want to welcome you all to a special edition of Hockey Night in New York. My name is Sean Cuthbert. With me, as always, is Christian Arnold. Most of the time.
Not always.
Is Christian Arnold. Christian and gentlemen, how you guys doing?
Doing well. Well, I can't speak for these guys, but I'm doing well.
I'm also doing well.
Yeah, I'm mostly concerned how Christian is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nice.
That's
I
fair.
like you, but
That's
I don't
fair.
worry about you. I worry about Christian.
I completely understand. I completely
worry
get it.
about
Well,
me too.
well, right off the bat, I want to thank
Yeah.
you both for coming and hanging out with us today. Fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
What else? On a Saturday afternoon between a morning skate and a, thank God, the final preseason game. We can finally get this going soon enough.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we jump into it, folks, just want to remind you that we are proud to be presented by Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington, 217 Carlton Avenue in East Islip, and UBS Arena at Belmont. Also proud to be sponsored by RJ Daniels American Bar and Grill, located at 279A Sunrise Highway, right here in Rockville Centre. And, of course, brand new sponsor, Lost Farmer Brewing Company, located at 63A 2nd Street in Mineola. So, gentlemen, you're here. Like you said, preseason comes to an end tonight against the New York Rangers at UBS Arena. And then we get to talk about the real thing. But gentlemen, I want to talk about camp. You guys were on top of it the whole time, right? You got to see all the players, see what's going on. Lane Lambert running the show there. So let's start there. And I want to start on the defense. Robin Salo, Ledoux, Hutton, Sebastian Aho, all kind of, competing for that 6-7 spot. It looks like Salo has the 6th spot, but there's a little
Absolutely.
intrigue with that 7th spot. So why don't we start there, Andrew? We'll start with you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've sort of wavered back. I started on the Grant Hutton bandwagon. I sort of flopped over to the Paul Ledoux bandwagon. I think Paul Ledoux's actually had a pretty decent camp. He's a 30-year-old, so it's not like he's a, wet behind the ears rookie. He's, you know what you get from him and from Grant Hutton. They're going to be solid in their own end and give you very little probably up front. But, yeah, like you said, Robin Salo, it was obvious from the opening of camp that he was going to be the 6th defenseman. The question now is, because Scott Mayfield, again, did not skate today, whether they have to go Salo and Aho to open the season or whether Scotty Mayfield's going to be back, because I kind of get the sense that as much as I was on a Grant Hutton bandwagon or a Paul Ledoux bandwagon, I think Lane Lambert's going to stick with Sebastian Aho.
You do?
I do. I just get the sense that they're comfortable with him.
And, Stefan, what are you getting out of those guys so far?
Yeah, I was also on the Grant Hutton train to start.
Okay.
Salo is the only one that got a chance with Mayfield, so that seems to be a lock. Paul Ledoux's played great. I think he might be a little ahead of Hutton there, but as Andrew said, I think they're going to go with familiarity with Aho if they have to.
And, Stefan, what was the title of your most recent piece in NYI Hockey Now?
Don't count Ledoux out of that final spot. No, because really, starting camp,
I don't have an issue with the story. It was a fantastic story. You do a great job. But I had an issue with the headline, and I had to roll my eyes.
Noted. I'll change it after the show.
No,
But,
it was it was look creative.
Yeah, shut up. So
Getting to him already. I love it.
So when camp started, though, I don't think Ledoux really people thought had a chance, but he's played really well at camp and in the games. And again, I think for that extra defenseman, you want a defensive defenseman, stay-at-home guy. So I think Ledoux and Hutton both are more defensive than Aho, but like Andrew said, I think they'll go with familiarity there if they have to.
So between the two of you both think Aho has a leg up on the 7th spot?
Not with his play. No, honestly, with his familiarity.
Yeah.
If it was a meritocracy, I would probably have Ledoux as the 7th D-man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Hutton, either. either one. But
yeah, I think Ledoux's
ahead of him.
Yeah, Ledoux's a little bit ahead. But like I said, because tonight you're going to see Aho paired with Salo, and I think that they're either it's not a last look at Aho. They've been watching this guy, since Noah built the ark at this point, right? So
Noah Dobson, of course.
Yeah, Noah Dobson built his ark.
Right.
Yeah, and you bring defensemen in 2x2, right? but they know what they have with Aho. I feel like the fact that he's in the lineup tonight to play with Salo rather than one of the Hutton or Ledoux, to me sort of says that Lane Lambert and Lou Lamoriello and the coaching staff know which way they're going now.
What I will add just for that is I think during morning skates they had Aho on his offside with Salo. I think just for preseason to practice, they want to keep Salo on the left side. But if the season did start, Salo could play both sides. So I think you might see him on the right. But again, they want him to be comfortable playing on the left.
Okay.
Sebastian Aho is a guy that, we essentially know what his game is. There's no surprises at this point. But I guess the situation the Islanders have found themselves in because of what they did do in the offseason, what they didn't do in the offseason, it's interesting because I think there was always sort of that thought process that there would be another veteran defenseman brought in to try and fill that 6th, 7th defensive role. What is it, at least from what you guys have seen, Stefan, if you want to start off here, what is it that you guys have seen out of Aho's game? Has there been any changes? Has there been any steps in the right direction or maybe some corrections to what was ailing him at certain points the last couple of years, because he's always been in and out of the lineup? Yeah,
I think his biggest thing is decision making, but we haven't really seen much change. Again, we know he's a great skater, but again, the defensive liability thing is what's been his hardest thing, being consistent defenseman. He played in I think the second preseason game with Cholofsky. He stood out as the better defenseman. Cholofsky struggled, but haven't seen much growth in Aho. Like you said, you know what you're getting, and that's probably the reason he'd get a chance.
Yeah. I mean, it's there are no differences. I mean, and to be fair, like, Aho wasn't all that noticeable at the start of training camp, and the fact that he wasn't getting a chance to skate with any of what you would consider the top 5 at any point, to me, it told me that they know what they have with him. There's not really growth. There's not really regression.
Right.
He's Sebastian Aho of the Islanders. And, as we're having this discussion, it strikes me the fact that we're starting the show with who is the 6th or 7th defenseman says everything you need to know about the Islanders offseason. Because it's the same team.
Right.
You bring in Alex Romanov, but it's the same team. And for a team that missed the playoffs, the fact that we're not really debating roster battles through training camp it's a little crazy, right?
Is it crazy in the sense of maybe this could work because there's that familiarity and you bounce back, or is it crazy in the sense of like, why didn't they do something in the offseason to make the team better? Because it is crazy, but I think you can kind of look at it in two parallel.
Well, they're making
ways.
A huge bet, and on their end, it's not even a gamble. They are sure that last season was a fluke, and that this core can still be the core that went to back-to-back NHL semifinals. That's their bet. I mean, to me, it's more of a gamble. I don't know whether last season was a fluke or whether this is a core that really is aging out at this point, and they did need to infuse something into the lineup. I think it's going to be a fascinating first couple of months of the season, because I think that answer is going to come. You're going to know, 6 to 8 weeks into the season, whether Lou Lamoriello was absolutely brilliant in staying with this core, or that he erred in not shaking it up a little bit.
They're also banking on young players taking a step. That's a big thing too, because they didn't bring anyone in. And we asked Lou at the golf outing a couple weeks ago about PTOs, and he said he was only going to bring in a PTO if they were going to earn a starting role. So he said there's a lot of internal competition. Lambert said the same thing. So it'll be up to those young guys to make a point that they deserve to be in the lineup every night. You
talk about those young guys. Romanov is obviously one of the biggest young guys that the Islanders made that acquisition for. Obviously going out there, trading a first-round pick at the NHL draft and bringing him in. There's a lot of expectation. There's a lot of intrigue from the first couple of weeks of camp and from those first couple preseason games. How have you seen Romanov pan out? Like, what is the type of player that he's developing into, and what asset did the Islanders have now?
First thing is, one, he could hit. He'll hit anyone. Doesn't matter if it's a scrimmage against his own teammates, he'll hit him. But
no, it's true. He laid out Brock Nelson, and I'm like, Come on.
But the one thing is,
Better watch your guys back then. He
Is
might
that-
come for you next.
if he hits me, I'm done. But is that he's very aggressive, and I think that's something that's definitely a positive. But
Yeah.
playing with Dobson, we've seen in the preseason games, it's something that Dobson's really got to get used to. Because with Chara last year, Chara stayed back, Dobson pretty much get the puck, go up, and now if Romanov's going to step, Dobson just has to be aware, like, hey, I can't go into the neutral zone just yet. I got to stay back. And I think that's the biggest issue you've seen with that team. They're getting caught odd mid-rushings against, but it's just playing. That's why they've played so many preseason games together, just to try to work that out before the season starts.
And folks and gentlemen, I should say.
Folks.
Yeah, folks. Yeah.
People.
Yeah, peoples, persons. why don't we move to the forwards a little bit? You talk about competition. Yes, not a lot, but there's a couple of young guys that I don't know if we're really sure where they're going to end up yet, and that's Oliver Wahlstrom and Kiefer Bellows. I know Wahlstrom might be dealing with a little bit of an injury right now.
He's skating.
Okay.
He skated with the extras today, skated on his own the other day, but he's not. It didn't appear he was going to be in tonight's lineup.
Right.
Kiefer Bellows was going to get that shot with Josh Bailey and J.G. Pajot. And to be fair, again, on a meritocracy, I think Bellows has had the better camp than Oliver.
You do?
Yeah,
I would agree 100%.
Really?
Yeah. Bellows, first off, when he signed that contract extension, the 1 year, he was ultra confident right off the bat. And then in camp, he just seems like very comfortable being here. But also he's energy-wise, playing-wise, he seemed really good.
So that's good to hear. Now, is he only looking better than Wahlstrom, but does he also look like he belongs, as in he could crack the lineup?
He looks like he belongs. That's what I was trying to get
does.
the point at, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And obviously there's a newcomer now in Soshnikov, and he's turning some heads here. Any chance of him perhaps even cracking, the top 13, 14, even if he doesn't have a job opening night?
Well,
Yeah.
I think you start with, when you talk about the 14, there were 11 that were set, right? I'm taking Oliver Wahlstrom out of that. Ross Johnson is going to be here. I mean, that's a definite as well.
Right.
Soshnikov could, I think they like him a lot. He skates really well. I don't know how much offense he's going to bring, except there were a couple of times in preseason where he got past the defense and created opportunities. He knows how to play in the NHL. He's kind of on the small side, I would say, for a forward. Yeah, it just depends, if Wahlstrom is going to be there and Johnston is going to be there and Bellows is going to be there. I don't know if there's room for Soshnikov, but I certainly know they like him a lot, and he's on a one-way deal.
Right.
So it does become a little bit of a numbers game there.
Sure. I mean, maybe he's a guy who sticks as an extra, but again, maybe the injuries too. We'll see what happens there. If somebody ends up in IR, you seem to see every now and then at the beginning of a season somebody randomly ends up on IR just so you can kind of keep some guys up, right?
Wahlstrom doesn't need waivers to go to Bridgeport, but and we were discussing this the other day up in the press box. Do you want to go through that mental game with him?
Yeah, that's tough.
Sending him down
Yeah.
because I'm not sure Wally reacts great to that.
Right.
He could be an IR candidate to start the season. Although the fact that he's skating now, kind of, puts a pin in that balloon. But they do have ways. I mean, he could go on IR to start the season.
And same with Clutterbuck, too. If he's not ready, who gets that fourth line job? Would it be Johnson? But also Kiefer Bellows, as much as he's looked strong offensively, he's still hitting people all the time. And that might be an extra element to that fourth line if he gets the chance there. And then you have Soshnikov, of course, if someone's not ready, Wahlstrom or Clutterbuck.
Yeah, I think Bellows is a guy, his game can kind of have him go up and down the lineup, maybe through the bottom 9, if you will, right? 2 through 4. So he could be, kind of be a utility guy there if they need him, if the injuries do seem to be consistent. It's funny, like we joke on this show all the time about how, you're lucky if you get 25 games out of the fourth line healthy, right? Like all of them playing together. And it's already started. The puck hasn't even dropped, and you're already seeing this. And I don't know if the Clutterbuck thing is a lingering thing from his shoulder. Nothing's come out, right?
They
haven't said anything. When we spoke to Clutterbuck, though, he said he said no pain anymore in the shoulder. So I mean, that's a great sign. So I'm thinking it might
just
be
another part
else,
of his body now.
but,
it's just
but we don't know. So.
Oh, by the way, Cizikas is in the lineup tonight.
I saw.
He had missed, I think, a couple of practices or one, and so he's back. But your point is absolutely correct. Trying to get Martin, Clutterbuck, and Cizikas healthy at the same time,
Right.
Especially given the way they play, and Clutterbuck is the oldest at 34. Right now, Zeker's 30, 31.
He's the youngest of the three.
Yeah, but they're at that. They're getting to be, where the daily health is something you have to monitor and be concerned about.
Right. It's not a knock on the players themselves. It's just the game that they play and the age that they're at.
And the way they've played the game.
Right.
Because they've all three of those guys go
110%.
I wanted to say something, but I'm not going to say.
I know what he was going to say. They go hard.
They go all
hard.
out.
They go hard
all the time.
Right.
And there's not much consideration for the toll it takes on their body when they're on the ice.
Oh, no question.
They're completely committed to what they're doing. But, when I was covering the Rangers, you saw it with a guy like Ryan Callahan, where you watched him play, and you were like, boy, when he gets to be about, 29, 30, 31, it's going to be on the other side of the hill.
Yeah.
And all that pounding is really going to take a toll. And you saw that Callie's career ended maybe a little bit sooner than you would have projected.
Right. Now, obviously, some of these names might have come up already, but has there been any standouts for you guys in particular through camp or through preseason who's maybe played better than expected, and maybe on the flip side of that, somebody who's struggling a little bit?
I mean, I think prospect-wise, Ratu has stood out every time he's hit the ice, whether he's playing 6 minutes a game or 15. He just, I don't want to compare him to like an NHL caliber player that's an elite player, but he plays like a Patrice Bergeron, where he seems like to always be in the right position. He wins the face-offs. Just he lines up, he plays that style. And I'm not saying he's ever going to get that high, but he plays like a 10-year vet, in my opinion. Just maturity, mentally, seems to always be in the right spots, make the quick plays. So he's definitely been a standout.
Yeah,
Andrew?
I was going to say Shashnikov, although he's not really a prospect. He's had some time in the NHL, but I didn't know anything about him when he started camp. And I've been impressed with his skating. And the other one to me is Salo.
Yeah.
He had this opportunity in front of him, and there was no shying away from it.
Yeah.
I mean, he grabbed it really quickly. It became clear.
What did he grab it by?
His skating? No,
Nice.
no, but his skating stood out,
Okay.
what he could bring, and it was pretty obvious that he was the best candidate for that sixth role very quickly into camp. Aatu Ratu is a guy that is going to play in the NHL, and honestly, if Cizikas wasn't ready to start the season, he's the obvious plug in there. Even though he's not going to be a fourth line player, or that kind of grinding player that's, he has a physical edge to him, but that's not really his game.
Right.
But that would be an easy place for him to start. But I still think for all that raw energy and talent, he does need a little bit of seasoning at Bridgeport to kind of refine that to where the speed of the NHL, I think there might still be some times where he's trying to make a decision and the game can just be a little too fast in that one instance.
It takes some time, right? I mean, it takes some time to develop that knack and develop that that NHL caliber style. And I am curious, though. I mean, we've heard so much about Ratu, especially coming into camp, and especially last year with the way he's played as well. Andrew saying this is a guy that we could see in the NHL sooner rather than later. Is there a prediction from you guys when that time may come? I mean, obviously injuries are going to come when they come, but is there a chance that we see him in an NHL lineup for a reason other than an injury pretty quickly?
He's a center. That's the biggest thing. He's only a center. It's pretty much what Lambert said. He's played wing in the past, but you have four centermen there that are probably not coming out of the lineup.
Right.
So I think the only way he'd make it probably is if there's an injury, and then if he plays well, maybe they stick him with him. But you can move Pajot to the wing if you need to. But yeah, I think it's going to be really tough for him to break the lineup unless there's an injury.
Yeah, it seems like it.
And I think the Islanders are comfortable with that too, because if you know Lou, he's all about the air on the side of giving guys more time in the AHL rather than trying to rush them in and overwhelming them a little bit. And look, I think Aatu can play NHL games. Big picture, is the experience going to overwhelm him a little bit to start? It might. So Bridgeport is probably the safe way and the prudent way to go with him.
And Ratu's only played 8 total games in Bridgeport. 6 came in the playoffs. So he definitely should take the time and just develop his game more. Again, he played overseas against adults, which helps him a lot compared to a guy like William Dufour who played against younger kids. So I think Ratu's close, but again, just more practice, reps, all that stuff will definitely benefit him.
You guys were talking earlier about the impact that the younger players are going to have this season. You're seeing younger guys, the Islanders are hedging their bets. Lou is hedging his bets on some of these younger guys to step up and take the reins. When you look at the Salos, you look at the Ratus, you look at Wahlstrom and Bellows, and I think I noted one thing when you guys were talking before, especially when it came to Wahlstrom, and that was that there was even a conversation in the press box about where is he going to end up starting the season. The fact that Bridgeport is even potentially being mentioned, even just in passing, is certainly sort of an interesting scenario here. Why is it that Wahlstrom maybe is kind of, when it comes to the younger guys that have really seemed to take a step so far, why is it Wahlstrom maybe is not on the higher end of that list, the way you were talking about Salo or the way Bellows has been playing in camp during these preseason games?
I mean, I'm looking at it, it's probably more of what Bellows has done than what Wahlstrom hasn't done. Wahlstrom, he played in the first 3 preseason games, and I just felt with his shot and with what they expect from him, there should be moments in games where you go, Wally did this or Wally did that, memorable moments. And I just felt like there wasn't much that stood out in those 3 preseason games where I can tell you on this shift, he really made a difference, or on that shift, he really made a difference. And there were a couple of shifts through the preseason where I can go, hey, Bellows really impacted the play, in this sequence. So I think that's more what it is for me.
Okay.
Wahlstrom should be, he did add a little physical element too, which I think he saw that Bellows did, which gets you minutes, especially at the end of last year. But like Andrew said, Wahlstrom should be standing out, whether it's a shot or goal or anything he does, and it's pretty much just been for hitting, like finishing hits, and there's been some scrums and stuff like that. But offensively, he should be standing out, and he's not really doing. Well,
I've been keying in on these shows leading up to the season because the big talk about the Islanders, who's going to score the goals, and there's kind of a big onus on a guy like him. I mean, not only for his development, obviously, but this is what he's billed as. He's a sniper. He's a goal scorer. And they're going to need that from him, especially if you have guys struggling out of the gate like they did last season in Pajot, Bailey, Palmieri, Beauvillier. This is an opportunity for Wahlstrom to step up and kind of stake his claim on this squad and be that goal scorer as advertised.
Long term, I think, Wahlstrom, the team wants Wahlstrom to be the sniper for Barzal, but he has to earn that right to do that. Sure. Again, with Trotz, it was, defensively, having that defensive mind, which Wahlstrom never really seemed to grasp. But we'll see with Lambert's system if more of that offensive aggressive element helps Wahlstrom, because again, when you're playing with a guy like Barzal, you just got to get open, and when the puck comes, shoot it. And again, Wahlstrom's probably not going to be with Barzal much this year, but he's still guys on his line if he's with Pajot where he still has to do the same job, get the puck and shoot. So we'll see what happens this year. For sure. And obviously Ratu's name came up, so we might as well key in on Dufour now. What do you like out of him, how he's played? Willem Dufour? I think I called him that a couple of shows ago. He's got a cannon of a shot. We even asked Wahlstrom that because Wahlstrom has a hard shot. And I think Andrew asked him too, and I did after the scrimmage. He's like, this guy's got a cannon. Like, it's a legitimate NHL caliber shot. His biggest thing is his skating. Now, people say that his skating is terrible. When he gets going after the first couple of strides, he could fly. The problem is he's very heavy on his skates. Mm-hmm. The starts and stops, they just got to work on him getting to that top speed much quicker, because the NHL game obviously is much faster than the juniors. Sure, and I want to check in on another guy right now. Mikey on the couch. How we doing over there, pal?
Eventually, when he turns that mic on.
I wasn't sleeping. I have to cue my own mic on. I'm doing well, man.
Yeah, how's it looking in the chat? Active in there?
Chat's good. Yeah, a lot of people talking about loving the Ratu hype.
Okay.
A lot of talk about division standings and potential spots the Islanders are going to end in.
Okay.
Now, Mike, you sound a little different today. You sound like we've put you in a couch in a closet today.
We took your mic away.
Wow, I was gone a couple weeks. Did you get in trouble while I was gone or something? Why did we demote
He's been
you?
demoted.
Yeah, why did we demote you? I didn't get the memo. I'm still playing catch up.
I just have iPhone headphones with the microphone.
We don't have a camera on him anymore.
I had a hard mic. I had a camera.
Cut the video on that one.
Losing my luster around here.
The star has fallen quickly.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for checking in with us, Mike. We'll get back to you later for questions.
I saw Shawnee. The podcast was 22nd on the iTunes charts this last week.
Yeah, buddy.
And then all of a sudden you demote Mike. What the heck?
Well, he's the reason why we didn't hit 10.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
You'll have to tell me what he did.
Chris Botta came in. He obviously did a tremendous job. He brought in some great guests, Craig Button and Ray Ferraro, which are both outstanding. If you haven't listened to those shows, folks, definitely check them out. They did a tremendous job. We had a great Barzal contract extension reaction show. We'll actually talk a little bit about that later in the show. But I do want to go to break real quick. So, folks, I want to thank you all for tuning in to Hockey Night in New York here, twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY, and, of course, your favorite podcast providers. We'll be right back.
I don't want to hear it. It's over. I can't believe they fell short again.
Yeah, but they played so well. They made it to the semifinals 2 years in a row.
The semifinals aren't the cup. God damn it! I hate those Lightning.
They'll get another shot at it next year.
I don't even want to talk about it anymore, all right? They lost, okay? Let me just sit here and enjoy the one thing that makes me a little bit happy. This fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty, turkey-filled Blue Line Combo. I eat 3 every day to help keep me strong.
Hey, Donnie, can I have one of those?
Coming right up. Talk about a blast from the Blue Line.
Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Our goal is to make you a hero.
Nikki, where should I go to watch the Islander game? Dad, where should Fran go to watch the Islander game?
Just tell her to go to RJ Daniels.
Love the Isles? Go to RJ Daniels and enjoy your favorite hockey team with their big screen TVs and in-game sound. RJ Daniels also provides indoor and outdoor dining, catering, a vibrant late-night bar scene, and weekly live entertainment. Need great planials? Go to RJ Daniels. Call or visit online at rjdaniels.com.
Some time to our sponsors. Ready to talk more Isles? The train rolls on right here on Hockey Night in New York.
That's right. The train rolls on when Sean decides to pot the music up and the mic's back on. So we appreciate him for doing his job right there, even though it took a couple seconds. This is Hockey Night in New York, a special day edition of Hockey Night in New York.
Yeah.
So Hockey Day in New York.
The sun is out.
His sun is out.
Yeah.
Mikey's on the couch. We've brought him back into the studio after a short time in purgatory. Sean Cuthbert on the other side of the glass today,
That's me.
helping out with.
Yeah.
We have some staff shortage today.
Yeah.
I'm
We
back
fired
with
Ed, too.
Yeah, we fired.
We did.
Ongoingly, we continue to fire Ed. Stefen Rosner from NYIHockeyNow.com and Andrew Gross from Newsday, as well as the Island Ice podcast, joining us as special in-studio guests. Our first real in-studio guest, because Chris Bott is now a part of the show, so we can't really consider him an in-studio guest of the. Anymore.
He kind of is.
Yeah.
He kind of is. Yeah.
Well, he's in the promo material. I don't know. I guess I've been given a look where I guess I said something I shouldn't have said.
We
but
have something to announce on Monday, but
okay,
you know
well,
what? For the listeners and the viewers, cat's a little bit out of the bag. But
I
that's
just
okay.
got back. I have no idea what's going on.
See-
Let's continue to talk Islanders hockey, guys.
Christian, do you want to talk Yankees? I mean, would that make you more comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, I am curious what your thought is on the
God.
Yankees bullpen with Peralta possibly coming off the IL and Clay Holmes not being 100%. But we can talk about that later. I know you have some Nets thoughts too. If you want to sprinkle that in.
Do you really want to?
No, we don't want to do any of
baseball
that.
right now?
We don't.
How do you feel about the Mets after that loss last night? Rough night.
Those
for them.
guys always find a way to collapse, don't they?
Right, but one team we're hoping doesn't find a way to collapse this year, the New York Islanders,
Way
who
to reel
also
it back
wear
in.
it orange and blue. And guys, coming back out of the break, I do kind of want to focus back into something we were talking about a little bit, or you had mentioned, and that was Lane Lambert and his style and sort of his reign now as New York Islanders head coach. And you guys have been around him since the start of camp and kind of getting a feel for him. I know from the peripheral, from a 300-foot view that Shawnee and I have at the moment, he seems like a guy that's a man of few words, but he has his system and things are starting to be implemented. What do you make of these first real couple weeks of Lane Lambert, running the Islanders bench, implementing that system? How much does it change, and kind of what has the difference been so far?
Well, it's really interesting because I'm sure everyone's watched, the stuff that the team puts up on the website, those press conferences, which, are probably a little tough to watch.
They're hilarious.
Yeah.
They're must watch for me. I enjoy the answers.
The funny thing is, he's really intense on the ice. I mean, he's loud. He's in people's faces. He's a very animated head coach.
Right.
I mean, probably more animated than Barry Trotz was on the ice.
Interesting.
Was he more dialed back when he was an assistant, or was he like that as well, assisting for?
No,
for Sean?
he's been very intense. The
Okay.
players, when he was an associate coach, they always talked about his attention to details, how he seemed to know everything about everything and his intensity.
Okay.
So that hasn't changed associate coach to head coach. It's just that now he's also the guy that has to disseminate all the information to the media, and he is not like Barry Trotz. And I should look, Lane, talking to him, kind of without the camera, he's very personable, and he's very humble. He's a great family guy, everything you want in a person, in a human being. It's just that he is not going to be Mr. Open Effusive in these press conference settings. And to be very honest with you, Lou Lamoriello is probably like doing the moonwalk in his office watching these videos because some of the stuff Barry would get into, had like Lou literally banging his head against the wall going, stop talking, stop talking. And now Lane just is not talking, so Lou is like,
Now, for those listening on the podcast,
somebody mark the timestamp to that little dance right there.
Heck of a dance move. That was.
I'm a much better dancer. I was actually imitating Lou.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
okay.
No,
All right.
Well, that being said,
dancer.
No,
we
I
do
feel like
have
we
video,
need
and we can take a second here. Andrew, if you want to stand up, show us a couple dance moves real quick. You put it out there. I mean, you can't ask the question.
We'll reach out to Lou and see if he wants to accept the dance-off challenge, because that was basically a quiet challenge to Lou Lamoriello.
Get Butch going on here to do his dance.
Oh, yeah, the famous dance. That's right. I'm sure he still got it. Sure,
his shoulders. He said he feels good, so he probably could.
There you go. There you go. So fellas, I want to.
I want to see this though. Andrew Gross, Lou Lamoriello, Butch Goring dance off. That's something else.
Let's set it up. Let's take
it to that. We could host it at RJ Daniels.
Sure. Why not? But I want to get into what's on tap because
you did there, Mike.
Gentlemen, we have some regular season hockey coming up. So why don't we do a little bit of what's on tap real quick? So I'm gonna bring in that segment. Oh yeah, there we go.
There we go. There's the music.
And now it's time for what's on tap. Brought to you by RJ Daniels, American Bar and Grill.
That's right, folks. It's time for What's on Tap, and the Isles have some regular season games coming up. A little bit of a 4-game homestand. Start at home Thursday night against the Florida Panthers. That is 7:30 puck drop. Very exciting. We can finally start talking about the real hockey games. After that, Saturday, Anaheim coming in from California. That's a 7:30 start as well. So that's 2 games on tap for the remainder of this week to start off the first half of that homestand. So, Christian, what do you think here? Tough competition here in Florida? Maybe an easier game against Anaheim?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it's looking. Florida is always one of those teams that they come in every year. The last couple of years as being one of those teams to watch every year. They continue to make upgrades and they continue to improve. And, they've been a real contender night, season in and season out for the last couple of years. I know weren't they your Stanley Cup pick last year too?
They were.
So
they were. Good memory.
And they deserved that. They deserved that pick too. You were not wrong in doing that. I think if you hadn't taken them, I would have, because that was a very fun team to watch.
It's going to be fascinating to see the Panthers season opener. No Huberdeau.
That's
no Uyghur, but you bring in Kachuk.
Right.
So they're going to be very good, but they're also a new look. They got Paul Maurice coaching.
That's right.
Which that was a very interesting move.
Oh, Andrew Burnett thing, it was.
Yeah. And by the way, that told you everything you needed to know about Barry Trotz's headspace, because if he had the opportunity, which he did, to take the Panthers job,
he could have had any job he wanted that was available.
But the Panthers
Philly job too.
Like, how often does a coach go into a job like a ready-made job like the Panthers? Usually, if you're looking for a job, it's kind of a little bit of a rebuild situation, because there was a reason the coach got fired before you, right?
They must have been really disappointed with their playoff performance. What else could it have been? Because they obviously had an outstanding regular season, and then they sputtered out when the playoffs came around. So it's interesting to see. But Paul Maurice is a very good coach. I'm interested to see what he does with those guys, especially the new guys coming in. And maybe, Stefan, you can touch on the Ducks a little bit coming in on Saturday.
Yeah, so obviously if the Islanders are going to struggle against Florida, you got to beat the teams that are weaker. And Anaheim Ducks are definitely going to take a step forward there, but it's still a hard team to beat with Gibson, a great goaltender. You have Zegras, they're flashy, but the Islanders do play a game, a style, even if they're going to go a little more aggressive, defense first. And against those teams like that have high-level forwards, the Islanders do fare well against them, but it'll come down to, if the Islanders don't play their game against anyone, it won't really matter. So if they get the system down, start to work out the kinks against Florida, this is an Anaheim Ducks team that's definitely beatable.
How much of that system, because you guys have been in practice almost every day, if not every day, how much of that system has changed? What have you seen to this new look Islander system that Lane Lambert is putting in? Because I think the assumption that I think we all had was that it would be very similar to what Barry Trotz had been doing when he was here. But what does that newer system look like so far?
It's definitely going to stay defensive, but they are going to be a little more aggressive. You're going to have your defensemen jumping up, forwards be more aggressive, and we've seen it through the preseason a little bit where the defense has been heavily involved in the offense. So I think it's not crazy changes, but I think when people say they haven't seen anything, you look at the Islanders have struggled system-wise and structure-wise, which goes to show that there's things that they're still learning, which means there are changes.
Okay.
I think that's one way to look at it. I know last preseason they struggled as well, but at the same time, again, if the players knew the system to a T, I don't think they would still be struggling with the structure.
Yeah, and I just have to reiterate that putting any stock in the preseason at all
No.
is a complete fool's errand. Because
I think you can put stock in tonight's game.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. But I mean, I remember seasons where the Islanders were pretty much, predicted to be awful, and they ended up being, but they would go like 4-0 or 5-1 in the preseason, and then the fans were like, yeah, they got it, and then the real games would start, and they would play as expected and terrible.
No,
I remember those years. So you can't, whether they struggle, whether they perform well in the preseason. I mean, it's nice if they win, but it means nothing because the truth is they are working on the lines, they're working out kinks, they're working on the system, especially now with the new head coach. So I wouldn't, even if tonight doesn't go as planned, or they don't end up getting a win here. It's not the end of the world going.
I mean, it's also a
Thursday.
preseason game.
Wow.
So it doesn't matter.
You still want to
exactly.
That's
my point.
Say, it
the
has,
way you phrase that, Sean, because I know it's the Rangers, so obviously that game matters.
Sure.
But the way you phrase it, you were kind of steering into that a little
Bavillier
bit. So I wanted to
said
bring you back to earth.
Bavillier said it's going to be
good looking out.
There's going to be emotions tonight. Bavillier said that after the skate this morning, so they're amped up to play. Yeah.
Okay. It definitely seems like they're fired up to make up for what happened last season, which is good to see.
They're in prove-it mode. Just to go back real quick,
sure.
The one big difference I think you'll see is there's a better shooting mentality so far.
Thank God.
I mean, you saw it the last preseason game. The defensemen were loading up at the point and looking to bomb away.
Yeah.
And it creates more goals, or it should create more goals, should create more rebounds. I mean, there are some defensive tweaks, too, that I am not expert enough to diagram for you. Just, in terms of who's got what, where on the ice. Lane's tweaked here and there. But I think, for the lay hockey person, what you're going to see is people shooting more at the net.
And to your point, Matt Barzal shooting the puck a little more. He's got a couple of goals in preseason. He had that nice backhander goal the other night.
Yeah.
So, maybe, and you hope that there is more of, especially for a guy like Barzal. And I don't know if it's too late for Josh Bailey, but, you want to see guys like that shooting the puck more, especially Barzal, because the dude has a shot, but he almost looks past to a fault sometimes,
And I think if you look at Barzal was third on the team in shooting, shot-wise last year. And I think it's not the biggest thing that he has to shoot. It's when he's in those high-danger chances he has to shoot the puck. Because he can shoot the puck from wherever. But when those chances are when you're in the slot and he passes it off, this is a guy Barzal who has a shot. Well, you got to take that shot.
That was always the biggest knock on Barzal's game. Was he's great hands. He's a terrific hockey player. But boy, did he just love to pass the puck off when you're screaming at him, just put the puck on the gosh darn net. So
watch your mouth, Chris.
I know. I edited myself there.
Here's the thing: if the Islanders actually had finishers playing with him, Barzy should be doing that. That's his greatest strength, is his playmaking. The fact that we're going nuts over the fact that he's not shooting says to me, well, they've never put the correct finishers with him, right?
Talked about that the other night.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. Is that he's makes a lot of good high danger plays. He sets guys up, and the puck's going in the goalie's chest. It's going off the crossbar. It's going wide. I mean, these are guys that have to finish.
Well, I mean, when he skates around and he's creating space, that should lead to goals,
right?
And you shouldn't worry about whether Matthew Barzal has 15 goals or 30 goals or whatever he has. Yep. He should have 60 to 70 assists. Right? I mean, that's
of course.
But that too goes back to the offseason and the lack of moves, or some of the other couple off seasons that even when Barzal has been here in the years past. Like, it's the same conversation we have every year: is why is this guy on this line with Barzal when you look at a guy like Wahlstrom last year, or some of these other guys who kind of were those up and comers, or some of those guys on the free agent market. So I mean, I think too, part of the issue now is, I was listening to the Matthew Barzal contract extension show you did with Bada and Ray Ferraro came on, and I think what kind of should excite Islander fans, especially when Ray was talking about Barzal hasn't even hit that next level, or that upper echelon of where his career is. And so with all of that being said, that should now be sort of an emphasis for Barzal going forward, especially if there's more of an emphasis on putting the puck on the net for this new system that Lane Lambert is implementing, because I think it's sort of that adapt or die mode at this point, because we know the players that the Islanders have around Matthew Barzal, and you can't necessarily expect some of them to be those finishers right now. He has to go out there and do it himself. And in fairness, if he's going to be the player that Ray was talking about on the show, he has to develop that aspect of his game, at least in my opinion.
It's totally crazy to me, and I was talking about this with Barzy after the morning skate today. He's going into his 6th NHL season.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
How does
he's only 25, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like ever since he entered the league, we've always been looking at, he's going to become this. He's going to become that.
Right.
He's in his 6th NHL season. He has to be this.
The biggest thing for that line is going to be Palmieri. It's because he has to finish. Because you look at, I talked to Parise, and he said Barzal's going to have all the eyes on him. He just has to get up and be ready. But for Palmieri, Barzal's going to do his thing. He's got it buried.
His season has to start in October. Like, that's the bottom. I keep saying it. He didn't start playing until January.
Yeah.
I discredit him a bit here, but I mean, he didn't get. Most of those guys didn't get going on the wing until like halfway through the season, which was obviously way too late.
What was it? It was Parise had 1 goal in 33 games, and Palms had 1 in 29.
And he had like 8 disallowed.
2 of them came in the first game after the break.
He led the league in posts.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, he's a critical part of that. He has to bury. Yeah.
So that'll do it for what's on top. I'm gonna swing us right into Hero of the Week. So here we go.
We're not going to talk about Iron Maiden coming to UBS Arena.
I mean, we still have time, Andrew.
Well, that's on tap.
That is on tap. Andrew, you're absolutely right. Iron Maiden is coming with their 3 guitar players, and it's going to be
the one guy who dances around, and the 2 guys who actually play,
and the giant Eddie mascot that comes on the stage.
That's right. No, Maiden puts on a great show.
Can't forget times. Post Malone tomorrow.
Was that right?
I'll be there. Yeah.
Oh, all right. They're going to let you in, huh?
I told him to go to the show. He has to get 17 tattoos on his face, otherwise he's not being allowed in.
All right. Well, we'll hear the scoop on that show next time.
I'm not going to sing. I promise. You don't want that.
All right, fair enough. Well, here we go. It's time for Hero of the Week. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you hear this song, that means it's time for the Hero of the Week, brought to you by the Blue Line Deli and Bagels half-price hero, which this week is the Hockey Night New York, featuring grilled chicken, buffalo sauce, and mozzarella cheese, avocado in a wrap. Get it half off all week long at the Huntington location. Just stop on into Blue Line Deli, mention Hockey Night New York, and get 50% off the wonderful, delicious Hockey Night in New York wrap. So with that, Christian, we talked about this before the show.
Yes,
I believe
we did.
This is like the 3rd or 4th week in a row where we have a unanimous Hero of the Week choice. So why don't you let everybody know who's our Hero of the Week?
Hero of the Week is none other than the gentleman we were just talking about before, and that, of course, is newly contract extended Matthew Barzal, signing an 8-year deal with the New York Islanders. And I have to say, for as much of a hard time as I've given Lou Lamoriello this offseason for the lack of moves that they haven't made and the decision to fire Barry Trotz, you have to look at the contract that they gave Matthew Barzal, and you have to be very happy with it if you're a New York Islander fan, because I was sitting with Joe Pantorno of AM New York, who covers the Islanders as well for the paper. He's also the sports editor over there. And we had looked. I got to plug the place I work for, guys.
I was going to say, he's your biggest tormentor.
The stuff that he's... Never mind.
I got to be a team player, You get it, you guys. You get it.
Yeah, no, you're on the air. We know what you say off the air.
Yeah.
I know if you're listening. We love you.
Yeah, we love you. We got to be nice to Joe too. He's going through a rough time having to cover these Mets. But we looked at the contracts, the contracts of the centers in the league that had higher contracts or more expensive contracts than Matthew Barzal, and you looked at it and you went, okay, those made sense. And then you looked at the guys that were under him as far as contract value, average annual value, and you look at it and you go, that's a very fair list, because Barzal fits perfectly in that list of, this is a guy I want for this price. Okay, it makes sense that a guy like Sidney Crosby or someone else would be here, and so on and so forth. So the Islanders, everybody got a very fair contract. Barzal got a fair contract for what he's worth and what he should deserve going forward with the way he's played. And the Islanders got a very fair contract out of someone who, as Andrew just noted, he's still in his mid-20s. And he's going into his 6th NHL season.
And that contract doesn't even kick in until next season.
Which is insane.
So you have him locked up for 9 seasons at this point.
So you have a guy, a potential superstar quality player. Because Superstar.
We're sorry, Matthew. He didn't mean it. He meant
superstar quality player.
There you go.
He's a star player right now for the Islanders, for sure, in this league. There's no question about that. But the potential to be a superstar in this league, when you look at the way a lot of people still talk about him and hitting that next level of his game. And I think that's a really good sign for the Islanders. I think that's a really great thing that they have him locked up at a reasonable contract going forward. And it gives them that opportunity.
Plus the salary cap will start expanding. Not next season. It's only going to go up $1 million next season. But then you're looking at it going up to $88 million and then up to $91 million. Right. So there will be, and that's when the Islanders start getting some contracts off. Varlamov's $5 million comes off. Josh Bailey's $5 million is going to be coming off in 2 seasons. So you're going to start to be able to have a little bit more cap flexibility. Not that they're in a bad spot right now.
No, but it again, to your point, more cap flexibility, and you have him under a fair contract. I think that's a huge thing for the Islanders, and Lou Lamoriello deserves credit for doing that. So he should be the 2nd star or hero of the week if we had to give a 1A and 1B.
Well, that's fair. In fact, I was going to ask Andrew and Stefen if you guys had anybody that you'd nominate just maybe based on their play, and also do you agree with Christian and I suppose us on the show that it was a good contract for
I
Barzal?
thought it was a win-win for both sides.
Yeah, okay.
I know the criticism with the contract came in. When you look at it on the surface, you're paying $9.15 million per season for a guy who's putting up 60 points per year.
Right.
Right. But you have to look at it within the prism of what he means to the team and what he means to the franchise. And I know Lou almost bit my head off when I said this guy is, the face of your franchise. There is no face. There's only the logo. Right?
Nice.
But this guy, you're paying this guy to represent, really. When people think of the Islanders, they're going to be thinking, they think of Ilya Sorokin and Noah Dobson.
Sure.
But Matthew Barzal he's the elite playmaker.
Yeah. Face of the franchise.
Yeah. No, I thought it was a win-win because with the salary cap expanding, 9.15 is not going to be an albatross. And you're getting him again, he's 25. The contract kicks in when he's 26. So you have him till he's 34. The whole thing with Barzal is how long is he going to be an elite skater? Maybe the last 2-3 years of that deal.
Honestly,
his edges won't be as keen as they are right now.
I think where that contract ends is perfect.
Yeah.
34 is just long enough.
Yeah.
He might lose a step or two in that last year or so, but the majority of that contract, he's still going to have that elite skating ability. He's still going to be able to play close to 100% of what he can bring. And I guess we're still waiting to see what 100% is, right?
I had this discussion with my mom the other day because she dutifully reads everything I post on Newsday.com,
sweet.
right?
Nice.
Oh,
my parents don't read anything.
Yeah. And she was like,
welcome to the club, Stefen.
And she was like, how much money is this guy making? $9 million a season. She was blown away by $9 million per season.
Tell her about baseball.
And I said, Ma, this is cheap. In baseball, you're playing mediocre players like 10 to 15 million per season.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge is going to break the bank at 35 to 40 million.
Yeah.
And she was like, who would pay someone $40 million bucks?
The majority of Islander country likes the contract. Mama Gross not feeling the contract.
Well, I wouldn't put Mama Gross and Islanders.
But it is interesting though, because it seems like the majority of people around the team, the fandom and stuff like that, are happy with the contract. But you go outside of Long Island, outside of
they're being killed for it.
A lot of people are saying that's a lot of money.
How much of that is? Oh my God, we don't have to go through a John Tavares situation.
Certainly, probably a lot. Absolutely plays a part.
Even though he was going to be a restricted free agent,
yes,
and the Islanders had control,
right. But they just bought however many years, probably what would that equate to, like 5 to 6 UFA years?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I said it on Twitter. That's that many July 1sts that Islander fans don't have to say to themselves, what the hell? What is Barzal going to stay? Are we going to have another JT situation?
That poor Andrew and Stefen don't have to sit there and wait for something to happen.
Well, that was the craziest thing.
Yeah. As I said this to Barzal, we were chatting about the fact that the contract signed. And I said, you don't have a-holes like me who are going to be coming up to you every 2 weeks during the season going, hey, what's up with your contract? You know, he doesn't have to deal with it. We don't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
The fans don't have to deal with it. Lane Lambert doesn't have to be asked about it. A win-win all the way around, I thought.
Yeah,
Awesome.
everyone played off that it wasn't going to be a distraction, but after it signed, talking to everybody,
They were like, "This is absolutely would have been
like
it
even
would have been a
Ross John's
distraction."
like, we can just focus on playing Barzal.
Right.
It was like we could just focus.
I mean,
it definitely would have been a distraction.
So now, I mean, honestly, I'm not trying to make a joke about this. The contract talk this season will be, you know, can they re-sign Scott Mayfield?
Yeah.
And Scott Mayfield does a wonderful job for the team. He's very important, but that does not carry the weight of, you know, the angst of what happens with Matthew Barzal's contract.
Right. No doubt about it. And all the jokes about going to Seattle or Vancouver and all that can go away too. So,
you know,
I will say Matthew Barzal's favorite, you know, one of his favorite athletes is James Harden. You know what James Harden did? Forced his way out of a couple teams. Just saying.
Thanks,
Never
Christian.
take it off
Thanks.
the table.
You know what? It took a little longer this episode,
I
but
was
you
very
finally
positive.
No, I know. It took
Yeah,
you
but
a
now
long
you're
time to be the
negative,
heel.
so-
I
Yeah.
know.
Well, we can't go an episode without him,
I
you
had
know,
to make
saying
one
something
remark.
negative. But I do want to
Yeah.
take. We're getting down to like the final minutes of the show here, so I do want to take it to questions, Bruins.
Miss the days of mixtapes and arcades? Love the taste of a bold IPA or maybe an ice-cold lager? There's a place where all of those magical things come together. Lost Farmer Brewing Company. At 63A East 2nd Street in the heart of Mineola, Lost Farmer combines a love of the 80s and a passion for quality beer to create brews that can only be described as gnarly, radical, and totally tubular. The retro vibe of the tasting bar will amp up your nostalgia while the blend of both local and exotic ingredients amp up your taste buds. Beer not your thing? Crack open a can of cider or sip a Chardonnay on the extended patio. Order up from the snack menu. You can even bring your own. If you're more of a homebody, pick up a growler to go or order online at lostfarmerbrewing.com. And for Islander fans, Lost Farmer created the delicious Stable Shaker American Lager to celebrate the Isle's new home of Belmont, where it's poured from taps throughout the arena. So raise a cup to the next cup with Lost Farmer Brewing Company, the future of Long Island craft beer.
So, Mikey on the couch, you're the star now. It's time for Questions Brewing.
It's time for Questions Brewing, brought to you by Lost Farmer Brewing Company.
His mic's not on yet. He doesn't realize it because he
Are
dropped
you?
his headphones.
I turned it on.
Oh, now
Okay.
it's on. Now we can hear you.
So, Mikey, it's time for Questions Brewing. Are you able to read?
I can still read, I think.
So let's get it going, buddy. What do you got?
So you guys touched on this a little bit. This one came from T-Boyle13. Do you see Clutter or Cizikas being placed on the season opening injured reserve? I guess that applies. Do you see any player possibly being put on the season opening injured reserve?
Not Cizikas.
Yeah.
I think Clutter.
Well, he was skating
Yeah,
tonight.
I think Clutter is probably heading that way at this point.
I wouldn't even add Wallstrom either because he's skating now. Probably just Clutterbuck, yeah. And then maybe Mayfield.
Mayfield's a possibility. Yeah. The problem is, and look, this is pro sports now where they tell you less and less and less each season, right? We can't even get an upper body or a lower body at a Lane or Lou. As to there's no reports on why Scott Mayfield's not skating, on why Cal Clutter. It really could be an ingrown toenail, and they're being overly precautious.
Sure.
Or it could be that, Cal's shoulder fell off.
It does amaze me the accountability of the other leagues to say, like, you have to tell people what's going on, and then the NHL's like, yeah, it's fine. He has a guy could clearly have a head injury. Like, yeah, it's an upper body injury. If you get lucky at this point,
it'll be interesting to see if there's going to be a change there now that gambling has taken such a prominent role, right? Because that's why they were doing it in football.
Yeah.
Because all the gamblers are like, all right, who's playing? I need to know who's hurt.
Like, it's a very definitive list you get every day from football teams. Of
right.
Like, this guy practiced. He didn't practice. Here's why he didn't practice.
Yes,
right.
no, it's. I mean, although they fudge around with that,
right, right. But it's more specific.
Bill Belichick lifts all 53 players. I mean, the other argument is like all these coaches. I'm not telling you who the starting goalie is. Major League Baseball in the regular season, you know the starting pitcher 5 days in advance.
Right.
Even the playoffs, you know the starting rotation.
Yeah.
Well, you know
Capuano was guilty of that. Trotz was guilty of that too.
It's secrecy for secrecy's sake.
Yeah.
I think
mind
the
games.
correct word you're looking for is stupidity.
Okay.
Or it's
or
dumb.
bullshit.
It's not anything on the coaches, because I get the coaches. It's part of the culture. It's the league just not stepping in and saying, hey, like, we need to be transparent for a lot of a variety of reasons, including gambling.
Yeah,
now,
gambling's the main one right now.
I think so. All right, Mikey, what do you got for us next?
I just want to point out that CGS 878 asked why there's no middle body classification for injuries in the event somebody has a stomach.
Don't give them any ideas.
You know what? That's a fair question. Maybe a tummy ache or something.
Middle body food
Here's a loose story. From when he was running the Devils, one of his players had a hand injury. Now, what would you consider a hand injury, upper or lower?
Upper.
Upper, yeah. Part of the upper torso,
They listed it as a lower body.
And he must have had long arms.
And Lou said, because when you hold the hand is below the waist, that's a lower body.
I can appreciate that, because it's so silly that, like, Lou is probably chuckling the entire time. He's whoever the PR guy at the time was, and said, tell him it's this.
Yeah, well,
probably. All right, Mike, what do you got?
Our next question actually comes from CGS 878. It's do any of you really believe this team will make the playoffs this season, with the other teams in the division seemingly improving and getting better?
Yeah, no, I have these guys as a playoff team.
Yep.
I do.
Now, where do you see them finishing?
I think one of the wild card spots, probably.
Yeah,
I mean, again, it's defensive.
Probably fourth.
Yeah, defensive structure and a really offensive-based division. They're probably one of the only teams in the NHL that's truly focused on defense. So if they get that system locked down, that's how they'll get into the playoffs. They'll win those. Again, they didn't win those close games last year.
Right.
And this is the time where you get a lead. You got to.
If they just win half of the overtime games, they get into.
Yeah, what a terrible OT record they had last season.
It was.
I know in one goal games they were like
OT.
2-6 and like 1-4 or something.
Right.
It was like.
It still wouldn't have been enough points to get them there, but it could make a huge difference this season.
They were 16 points behind the Caps, I think, for the final.
Right.
And they only garnered 3 or 4 extra second points in overtime out of all those opportunities. They could have been within 8 to 10 points of a player. They still weren't getting in, to your point.
Right.
But now in a normal season, that has to improve.
It's crucial, yeah.
Also, less games going overtime if they close the door in the third. You have to remember that too. If they lock it down, they don't need those extra periods.
That's true. Stefan, you're really contributing today. I appreciate it.
Just happy to be here.
Wow.
I'll switch with him and I'll just sit on the couch.
Hey, buddy, it's your first time here. I got to give you the business. You know?
To quote FAN, that was the moment of the day. I want that rerun.
Wow.
I'm going to put a picture of me on the show on my fridge.
There we go. All right, Mikey, what do you got?
This one just came in from T-Boyle13. And do you see the Islanders making a trade or any moves before Thursday's open?
First of all,
no.
The fact that Thomas is double dipping here.
Yeah, really.
He's a big time contributor to the Island Ice podcast.
And wow!
Now I'm finding
we didn't know that, so now we feel a little cheated.
Yeah, no, because I feel confident that we're his first love, so that's fine.
I don't know.
I think the Islanders are his first love.
We're going to wind up fighting over Thomas here. So.
T-Boyle13, valuable listener here.
Actually, I hope it's the same guy.
I don't know. I'm not sure if your dance moves are going to help your case or hurt your case. We'll find out.
I just my listenership just went to 0.
I don't think we'll see any trades, but I would not be shocked with something going on the waiver wire. If something were to happen, depending on who gets out there, could they go and get maybe, like we said, injury-wise, could they get a veteran defenseman off waivers? That's more of a stable factor than a Hutton, Ledoux. kind of guy. We'll see. Again, they have situations to deal with, and injuries certainly play a part in that.
All right, Mikey, why don't we sneak in another one here? What do you got?
That was the end of the questions, Bruin part, but this is going to make you nervous. I already know.
I have a question, too, for these two fine gentlemen.
Okay.
Yeah. Mikey can go first.
Say your piece, Mikey.
I can do my. So you guys talked a lot about players needing to take a leap for this team. That we didn't make a lot of offseason moves, but players that are on the team taking a leap in order for them to improve. So we spoke about Wallstrom, we spoke about Bellows, whatever, but I'm looking now, I pulled up Matthew Barzal's stats. They just signed him to this big contract. So his Calder season, he has 85 points, and he hasn't eclipsed more than 62 since then. What would an improvement on his end be? Like, what point total for that contract that we just signed him to seems
within what we're talking about, the Islanders' defensive structure, and he's not. The 85 points was under Doug Waite, where it was like, just go. Don't worry about back here. You worry about up there, right? I would say if Barzy is at 75 points this season, I think in addition to the improvements he's made, back checking and just being responsible coming back, 75 points out of Barzal I think is what you would. That's where I want to see him. That's what I think the Islanders need.
I would agree with the exact same number. Again, though, it's going to come down to not just him. I mean, he could do everything he wants, setting up guys. If they miss, obviously it won't be on his point total. But, yeah, definitely for sure over 20 goals should be the case, not 15. Again, he was hurt a little bit last year as well. But, yeah, I would say 75 points.
And, again, I think I'm not so concerned with his goal total. I want to see him with, 55, 60, 65 assists.
Yeah, that means somebody's finishing for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mikey, good question, buddy. Nice job. And Christian, I believe you have one more for the fellas before we get out of here.
Yes, yeah. I think Mike was trying to say something. You did not have his mic on.
Hey, Mike.
I'm used to Sean talking right over me. It's okay.
What do you got?
No, I was going to say I could tell how nervous you were when I went to go speak there. But I think I did okay.
Yeah, you actually did. Maybe because it's the daytime. Yeah,
it is. Sunlight helps.
All right, Christian, go ahead.
My question is a lot more goofier. Mike's question I really did enjoy. That was a great question, Mike. I'm glad you contributed. It's great to be back, by the way, and see your smiling face. And always great to see you, Mike. Yeah, no one can hear you. Again, your mic is off, but Mike did say it's just the two best parts of the show, and I tend to agree with him.
How is it that this show doesn't have an edible sponsor at this point?
Do you mean in the drug sense, Andrew?
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, we have an edible sponsor.
Andrew, it's only October.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we'll see.
In
fact, our stock in that regard might go up after people watch this one.
Yeah.
No,
so
it's
that could
a
happen.
very free-flowing conversation that reminds me of some
doing drugs.
No, it reminds me of some nights in Syracuse on the couch.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
Nights in Cortland also. Yeah.
So you're comfortable, is what you're saying?
I'm very
Yeah.
comfortable.
All right. That's what I like to hear.
In a live microphone.
I was
so.
freaking dancing before. I'm comfortable.
That's true.
dancing
You love to
before.
see it. You love to see it.
No, my question was a lot more silly. My question was going to be to Stefan and Andrew. You have to center a hockey line, with two other Islander media members, including the broadcast team. Who are you picking and why? I'm not including Sean and I.
We have to center a line and pick two other guys.
You have to pick not people.
You're talking to two goalies.
Yeah.
But you're not playing goalie. You're playing center.
Oh.
Okay.
Ethan Sears, Kevin Kurz from the Athletic.
I'm taking Butchie.
Butch. Oh, that's a good pick. Who's your other
pick?
Who's your other pick?
Who's my other pick? I'll take AJ.
Wow, I forgot about it.
Nice job.
I should have excluded the broadcast
line.
team because it's not as funny.
Yeah.
I'm taking Anson.
Yeah, you failed.
Anson
Carr. That was my fault.
Okay, so you
Yeah, I want X players off this.
Okay.
I want this to be funny.
I'm not taking Joe. I know that.
Yeah.
Wow. It's not very nice.
Well, I think he's a defensive first guy. He'd probably be a defenseman. You asked for forwards.
Yeah.
So.
Let's
Joe
see.
Pantorno, by the way, is who he's referencing.
I'll take Corey Wright.
Ah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Another goalie.
Another goalie.
Oh, okay.
You always stick together.
You go ahead. You take the next two.
All right. Definitely Kevin Kurz because he doesn't care. So he'll just be crushing people on my
Okay.
line. He'll be a hard hitter on my line.
Okay.
All right.
And then I'll take Ethan. You know, he seems like he has the IQ. So
Okay.
you know, we could get chemistry there.
Okay, seems like he's a smart fella.
He's a smart.
All right.
He's
No,
a
we'll go
smart
with that.
individual.
Yeah, no, he's a yes. Yeah.
Yes.
All
And
right.
again, not saying Kevin's very smart as well,
He's
but I
a-
think Kevin just. I would just think Kevin be more of the physical guy on that line.
So,
Okay.
wow. All right.
All right, fair enough.
Who's left? I got Corey. Who else covers this team? since I'm not taking Joe.
Wow.
Well, we all know Christian doesn't anymore, and then the content of NYI Hockey Now has just leaped and bounds tenfold since Stefan
That's
took
true.
over. So.
Actually, you know
I
who
agree.
I want?
I agree. Who?
I'll take another social media icon here. I'll take Tyler.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's one of the Islanders' social media people.
With his jokes, and then we'll score goals.
Yeah, no.
All right.
He's,
Now we're getting a little inside
he'd be-
baseball.
He'd be the Brad Marchand of the line.
We're just going to have to take your word for it.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't know Tyler?
Very funny
No.
guy. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to hear. Well, I think that's going to do it, folks. So thanks for getting your questions in for Questions Brewing, but we're gonna fire up the music here and get on out. So, folks, I want to thank you for tuning in for this very, very special afternoon edition here on a Saturday at 1:30 here at Floored Media in Rockville Centre. Huge thanks to our gentlemen here on the chairs here, Andrew Gross and Newsday.
Thank you so much for having this. Is a lot of fun. Always a great time with you.
No
guys.
question
And
about
eventually
it.
Andrew will invite us back onto Island Ice.
Right.
As he keeps
He's biding his time.
promising.
That's all right. That's all right. And a huge thanks to Stefen Rosner for hanging out with us here from NYI Hockey Now. Make sure you check out both of their content. They do a great job. They'll be covering the game tonight at UBS Arena. And, of course, a big thanks to you guys for tuning in. Absolutely. And, folks, where can we find you on social media to follow you?
I'm on Twitter at @Gross Newsday. The Island Ice podcast is available on the Newsday website, newsday.com/Isles, or wherever you get your podcasts. And there might be a new one dropping tomorrow or Monday. I'm going to be recording the NHL season preview podcast after tonight's game.
There you go, Stefen. Where can we find you?
And I'm on Twitter at Stefen_Rosner. It's Stefen with Stefen.
Very
my parents'
good.
fault. And then NY Hockey Now. That's where you can find my work.
There you go, folks. Want to send out a big thanks to our sponsors, Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington, an official partner of the New York Islanders and the best deli around. Huge thanks to RJ Daniels, located at 279A Sunrise Highway here in Rockville Centre. And last but not least, Lost Farmer Brewing Company, located at 63A 2nd Street in Mineola. Check out their stable shaker named after UBS Arena. Fantastic American lager. Christian, where can we find you on the socials?
At C_Arnold.
You sure?
01. I was not sure.
You looked confused.
I really looked confused. I was not sure, but that is correct.
There you go. You can follow me at Shawnee Hockey. You can follow the show at Hockey Night NY. Once again, for Christian Arnold, Andrew Gross, Stefen Rosner, and Mikey on the couch. Mikey, where can we follow you if one is so inclined?
I just don't think anyone should follow.
That's true. All right. Well, thanks so much.
That was
for
so
tuning
low.
in.
It's very on brand for Mike today.
It's a Hockey
and how
Night
he's
in
been
New York.
treated by Sean.
We will see you next time.
Bye. Are we clear?